somewhere in the world, especially here in Los Angeles. Today, we're going to be talking about the Celebrity Fund that we've just launched over in Miami. Probably on a greater level, as always, we're going to be talking about tips to be able to get investment. We're going to be able to talk about the actual fund itself. We're going to be able to talk about all of those important things that you need to do to be successful in life. And so, John, good stuff. Today, we're going to start the show together. John, general partner in our Celebrity Fund. Now, look, as always, for everybody who's listening, any questions that you have, you throw them into chat. We'll answer them. You could look to find out things about growth. You could be finding out things about investment. You could be just finding out things about, like, how do you just build a better startup? All of those things. As always, we are here to answer. But front of mind is this incredible Celebrity Fund that we're building over in Miami. Jonathan is the general partner of the fund. He's no stranger to investments. Has invested in hundreds of companies over the years. So, John, say welcome to the show. But listen, you've been around.
Yeah. Anyone who's been around Expert Dojo has probably seen me somewhere. So yeah, been leading the investment team here for the last few years. Done over 250 deals or so. So yeah, we're always super active and that side of things too. And excited to launch the Miami Fund here, get the Celebrity Fund underway. We have some really cool announcements coming out over the next few weeks as we continue to add some people on and release those publicly. Really excited to keep going and continue to really invest in some great companies.
Amazing. And so a lot of people are going to wonder why we specifically did a Celebrity Fund. Look, I'll lead it out, and then I would like your perspective on it, because this really, really, really applies to startups doing this in their own lives and their own company lives as well. And for us, we knew that everything in startup is growth. Whichever startups are able to grow the fastest and the best are going to win, just period. And so, especially when your customers love you. And so how do you do that? Like, how do you do that when you're trying to, like, bootstrap your way to go from one point to another point to another point to another point? It's, like, so hard. So we all need an edge. Now, sometimes that edge is, you could write a book and everybody could find out about you. Like, if Tony Robbins started a startup, it would be easier than somebody else starting a startup, because Tony Robbins already has notoriety. You could be a famous actor. Like, look what George Clooney did with his startup, both on the tequila and the coffee machine as well. And so there are multiple ways, but that edge becomes really important. So today I want to focus everything on the edge. For us, the edge of the Celebrity Fund is if we have major celebrities that are starting startups, endorsing startups, working with startups, promoting startups, that gives startups a boost they wouldn't normally have themselves. So it gives us an edge when we're looking for the very best startups to be able to come through. You want to talk a bit about that, John, and kind of where because you've been cultivating many of these celebrities.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for both sides here is it really makes a lot of sense. So what we're doing is we're vetting companies. We're bringing forward the best founders, and basically coming to our network, going to the celebrities here, going to this and saying, hey, we have vetted companies that are doing the right thing, that are building things the right way. You guys should take a look at these too. So startups, I think they have a hard time getting in front of the right people here because they're so on guard with a lot of the companies there too. So we can be a good tool for both sides to get in front of each other. That's really, it changes the conversation with a lot of them as well. So we're bringing things forward to our network here, making sure, like, hey, if they have a company they want to work with, we'll do the vetting of it. We'll look through the company. And then in the meantime, the startup's getting access to these people that they may not have gotten in the beginning here too. And they're not coming in as like spam. They're actually able to get in front of the right people and present their company and be heard by these people as well. So I think that's just one of the biggest things here, is just opening the door. And we're working with both parties to make sure everyone's happy here. And there's a level of trust that they don't have necessarily in the beginning. So it's just building that trust, breaking down those barriers and making sure that everyone can speak, have those open dialogues, and we can really push forward the best companies while helping our network, while helping the investors and the celebrities we're working with to find the best opportunities as well. So it's really synergistic. It works well for everybody involved. And I mean, honestly, it's a no-brainer on our side of things as well.
Yeah, very powerful. And, some of the celebrities you're bringing in are fantastic, but celebrities work for everything, by the way. We've seen Kim Kardashian do incredible with CPG brands. We've seen Ryan Reynolds do amazingly well at financial brands. Look at what he did with, look at what he even did with Mint, was phenomenal. We've seen Jessica Alba, build up the Honest Company. Now, most recently, not the best, but definitely growing up to that $1 billion valuation. They did a phenomenal job getting it up to that type of level. So the celebrities can make a huge difference. And like I said, it is that edge to get there. What kind of folks are you bringing in, John?
Yeah, primarily right now, the ones we have public are athletes. So a lot of guys who used to play in the NFL, a few NBA players as well. So primarily it's been in the athlete community right now. We've got quite a few bigger influencers as well. So some really exciting people right now, but we're going to be layering in more and more people as this moves forward. I mean, the great thing about this too is this is just where we're starting. We're going to be layering in some of the best people we know, getting more and more of those influencers there and too. And if we have a company that lines up with somebody in specific, we're always able to reach out to them just through our network here too. So we're really just getting this started, and we're really expecting to pull in more and more great people as we move forward. But it's great people involved so far, and really just want to layer more and more in over the next few months, and continue to really build this out and make sure that we have the most powerful ecosystem there is.
I like it. Well wishes from Ritvi there. Yeah, and so it's going to be so when we look at aligning celebrities with the startups themselves, what's going through your mind? Yeah, so let's start there, and then I want to look at it the other way around, which is celebrities to be able to bring in LPs because that also is very, very, very advantageous for the fund as well. And again, I want to draw parallels for startups and also for GPs who are building their own funds with like the tactics that you've built around this. But let's start up with the startups first. When you look at the celebrities coming in, how do you decide which celebrity could be useful for which startup?
So we have a few different ways we do this. So first thing is every time we have celebrities, we've been doing roundtables with everybody's here. So we actually just had our first one last week. We've got another one planning the first week of July where we have everyone who's available get on a call. So we typically pull in 15 to 20 of these people, and just present the companies we have. We ask all of them to bring in a company as well. So we vet that company before we do that, but it's not just our companies that we've spoken to say, hey, bring a company that you've talked to and we'll go through it with you as well. So we have a community where like if we have somebody bring in a company, they're able to get opinions from everybody else involved. And if they want to put other celebrities behind it, they can do so as well. So building that community, building everything in where we can say, hey, these are all the good companies here. These are vetted by other people who are involved. If you want to get involved, let's figure out a way to do that too, whether it be through an investment, whether it be through an advisorship thing. So we're pretty flexible. We don't go into any of it with like a predetermined way to take the conversation here. So everything is really flexible, and we can just see what's the best opportunity here for the startup as well as for just whether the influencer side of things as well. So we want to keep those open, that dialogue open. We want to make sure that everyone's really getting the best value for this. So those roundtables have been really productive for us so far. And then obviously we're making direct introductions. So if we see a fit that's a no-brainer, we'll make those direct introductions and let the two people take it from there as well. Obviously with Expert Dojo leading that. But we want to make sure that everyone's getting the best value out of this too, and make sure that they're seeing everything here and they can make a very informed decision about whether they want to be investors, whether they want to be partners in this as well. I think a lot of the hesitation within just the influencer side of things is they get presented with so many companies, it becomes hard to really differentiate what's a good company and what's a bad company. So just having that level of dialogue of, hey, this is the things you need to know about. These are the potential issues here. These are things that we would or would not have done with this deal for. I think it changed a lot of that conversation. And they can just get a more informed decision. And if they choose to move forward with a company, they can still do that, obviously. But now they have all the facts. They're not going to get surprised out of nowhere that the company is closing in 2 months because they didn't look into the debt statements. They didn't look into something else, too. So it's just that level of clarity and that level of transparency within them as well.
I like that. And look, for everybody listening, this is about influence more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
We choose to bring in celebrities, and we're going to talk about like some of the impact that that's had on limited partners that we've been bringing into the fund as well. And limited partners are, of course, the investors. If you're a seed stage startup, the equivalent to your seed stage investor for a fund is a limited partner and bringing them in. A limited partner are very, very influenced by the people who are involved with the fund. And when you start talking about a celebrity fund, it makes a difference. So when you're looking, as we always try and give you to take away at the end of these calls, you're looking for what is the piece that Brian and Jonathan are giving to me that I can like literally copy and paste onto my own startup. It's one word, which is influence. Your job as a startup at the beginning is just to survive and build a great product that your customers will really like. That's your job, right? It's to survive for as long as you can so your product can become as good as it can be so that your customers actually really like what you've built. Then you move to the next level. That first level is the builder level. We call it the Viking level, but it's that level where you're just fighting for your life every single day of the week. And then you move on to this next level. And this next level is when you're trying to build a growth loop, i.e., something whereby you can continually do that's going to get you a return that you can predict in the future. It involves building systems, it involves building teams, it involves like really making sure that you can prepare yourself for the next level, which is going to be escape velocity. And that escape velocity is when you can just pour petrol right on top of that fire that's going really well. In that second stage, that stage where you go from the I'm just trying to survive and get to the next level, and you're moving towards the systems, the growth loop, and everything else. This is the time to bring in influence. Now, people are hugely affected by influence. In our case, we're talking about celebrities and we're talking about influencers. But in reality, you could be talking about, well, let me give you an example. We're doing a thing called Data Cities. And so I met with the ex chairman and CEO of PayPal. That is influence. Is he any different from a top athlete or a top celebrity? No, he's exactly the same, right? The day before, I was speaking to one of the top people in New York in the data center space. Again, it's influence. A moment comes where you become believable. The moment you are believable, that is when you want to reach out to the people who will have the most impact for your audience. I've had another company that that we've spoken with, whereby this company took in one of the top tennis players in the world and raised $28 million just after bringing them in. So, John, when you were constructing like how to build a fund and bring in limited partners around the celebrities, talk to me a little bit about like the thought process and also how some of the limited partners, the investors, are reacting to the fact that there's so many celebrities in this.
Yeah, I mean, well, the great thing about all of our LPs as well is that everyone has been value add to us as well. They've either worked with startups in the past, they've had their own companies that they've sold. So everyone's involved in this industry as well. And I think actually more than anything, our LPs have had added value to the other side of this as well, where they've added value to the influencers that we work with too. So, again, we want everything in this fund to be synergistic. It's all about how do we help everyone grow? How do we help everyone win with this? So all three parties here win. The startups win because they have access to these people. There's obviously the investment elements of this too. There's that greater network beyond that. Obviously, the athletes, the celebrities get involved. They want to work with good companies. They want to have those opportunities where if they've retired, if they're not involved in things on a day-to-day anymore, they have something they want to work with. They have good companies to be around. They can find different opportunities, whether it be as brand ambassadors or actually working with businesses. And then obviously the LPs want to have the best opportunity to find startups. So they're leveraging the celebrity influence with their network, with the companies they've already been investing into. So it just really helps everyone win here too. And so that's been the value add for us has been just like we have opportunity with all three of these networks. We want to make sure everyone wins together. And honestly, it's been the easiest way for we've ever. I mean, personally, we've raised funds before, and this has just been so easy because everyone sees the true value in everything they're doing, and nobody's really getting an advantage over the other parties here. Everyone's really winning together. So it's just such a simple sell. Like it's really easy for us to say, hey, everyone wins with this. We're all working together, and I think those are the best deals anyone can get into as well. Is that they all see the opportunity here and they know what they can do with it.
Yeah, I like that, John. And you identified that really early where you said, actually, it's not a one-way street where like the celebrities come in, they find a product, they endorse a product. Like many of these celebrities have no idea how to do early stage investment. And the only thing they're going to do consistently is lose money. But as soon as we come in and we say to them, look, we understand this world, our mentors understand this world, our investors understand this world, and they want to know you. So actually, we're going to teach you how to make better investments. We're going to stop you from wasting your money on areas that you were definitely going to lose when we could have brought you into a much better area. So I really like that. And I know you've started building really good educational programs around that, John. So they're in a position where they can just really be successful afterwards. And
Absolutely.
also the investors like it as well. And to your point, investors are not, this is not a binary decision about investment. In early stage investment, nobody has a clue who's going to win or who's going to lose. We have points of reference that we can say, oh, the startup has done it before. Oh, the product is really big. Oh, AI is really important in the world today. But that doesn't give us proof points. And the more points of reference that you can give, including influencers getting behind your product, the better a chance you have for success.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, and again, like the one thing is too, like this is what we do all day. We can always point to our track record of what we've invested in the past, the kind of companies we've invested in. I mean, we're a global fund and we have access to people all around the world. So even if somebody wants to invest in other markets, they want to invest in if we have somebody who's immigrated to the U.S. but they want to invest back where they were from, they want to find those deals. We have people all over the world within Expert Dojo. So it's been really great for us to have that global vision as well and show people what things look like in other places. Obviously, we have our fund in India, but we do a ton of things in Africa, obviously mostly in Nigeria, Kenya, a couple things all around the continent. And then a lot of stuff in Latin America as well. So we've invested in Peru, we've invested in Chile, Argentina, obviously all through Central America as well. So the global focus has really been a unique thing for everybody as well, is just seeing what they can do in international markets, the kind of companies coming out of those places that they may not even really know what was happening over there. So, I think that's been a game changer for a lot of the people as well, is that they see opportunities in other markets. And we obviously can connect with athletes and influencers in those markets as well, so that they can really help their own economy. They can help the country that they are from, whether they live there now or not. So yeah, the global focus has been a really unique thing for everybody as well.
Nice. And we have a question here from Shreyansh, which is, can we use celebrities' influence to endorse our startups when in need after the investment?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's the big thing too. So usually the way these conversations start for us is usually we invest in the company first. If we have a company that we think really needs to have somebody involved, then we can obviously bring it to our team, bring it to the network we have here as well. But yeah, absolutely. The goal for us is once we've invested, we're connecting you with everybody in our network. So we want to make sure that you're getting access to those people immediately. So yeah, that's where the majority of those are going to happen. That's really where we're going to see the most opportunity for partnerships. We're going to invest, and then the companies are going to be meeting with our network, and hopefully get some athletes, some people behind them. We want to make sure everything's a good fit. So if somebody can add value to your company, whether it be through a brand ambassadorship, whether it be through an investment, whether it's just through their network, that's where we want to get involved. So even if it's not a fit with, like, let's say an NFL player comes in, there's no direct synergies with the company, it may not be the best fit necessarily, where we may have somebody who's on our LP network who exited the company in your space, who knows a lot of people in that industry. Even though it's more fun to have somebody that everybody knows on the cap table, it can be much more influential to have somebody like one of our LPs involved as well, who can make those direct introductions and help you with sales. So we try to judge what's the best opportunity, but obviously we're putting you in front of everybody within our community here as well. So definitely a big thing we do.
And thank you, Amgarth. I appreciate the love there. I know you brought in a second question here, which is there an in-house team for content growth or influencer marketing from celebrities in the fund? We're building it out in India. That's exactly what we're doing. We had it over here in the US, but we're moving pretty much everything that we have back office, from analysts all the way through to our marketing proficiencies, all the way over to Bangalore. We have an amazing team which is being built out there. The really fascinating thing here, and why this is all so important, is our belief is in the bridges. Right. So we know India is an amazing market, but what we know is better is building a really good bridge between India and the United States, and India and the rest of the world. So the great thing about having a celebrity fund like this is, even if you're an Indian company, you're building up, you're looking at the US market, you're thinking, wow, this could be actually really good for us. That's why we do it, because we want to make sure that we have this great go-to market for you, whereby you can jump from one continent to another with this amazing infrastructure in place. And I just want to add one other point, and John may have some extra points to add here. When we talk about influencers, celebrities, they can be that guy from PayPal. They can be that sports celebrity that I mentioned, that $28 million was raised just through that person's network because that person really, really, really believed in what they were doing. It could be Daniil Medvedev, who we have in one of our esports teams, because he loves Valorant, right? It could be Richard Branson because Richard Branson really believes in what you're doing. Influence means exactly what it says. As a startup, actually, I'll give you one very quick example, and then maybe John has one or two as well. Brex did this brilliantly well. Two kids from Brex came up from Brazil, went into Y Combinator, started a company. It was all about virtual reality, made no sense whatsoever, and then moved into banking because they realized that banking for startups was a real problem. But banking for startups, like, it's okay. It's not great though. So what did they do? They immediately went to PayPal. They looked at the PayPal mafia and they started reaching out to all of the people in PayPal. They even went to the extent of going for a job, pretending they were looking for a job in PayPal to get access to Peter Thiel or somebody like that. And what happened? They got a bunch of people in their advisory board. Everybody else was like, ooh, this is amazing. And then they raised hundreds of millions of dollars within a tiny period of time. In venture capital, there is a huge emotional bias towards strong influence coming behind you, whether it's celebrities, whether it's influencers, or whether it's someone else. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it has to match the synergy there too. So there has to be a great way for everyone to win involved. So, like you mentioned, like the Mint Mobile one earlier too, and yeah, when you look at it initially, it doesn't make too much sense. Like, how does this influence get behind it? How does Ryan Reynolds match up with that kind of company? So it doesn't always outwardly seem like a good opportunity, but if a company is doing things the right way, those brand ambassadors can really change the trajectory of the company as well. So it's finding those different opportunities where somebody can really help you with the growth and that the partnership matches and that they're willing to really help push the company forward. I think one thing we've seen in this too is that we've seen brand ambassadors get behind a company and then not be super active in it. So if everyone's not aligned in it too, it can also be a bad partnership. So that's one thing we have on our, that's where we really help with our startups is we're saying like, hey, when we get somebody involved, we're going to make sure everyone's working together on this too. So we want to make sure you're there the entire way. They are a partner in your company with you. So they are there to help you the entire way. They're going to be doing this with you. They're behind Expert Dojo. They're behind your company. We're all driving this together. So you have that trust of we're all going to help push us forward as quickly as possible and that we're going to make sure we can do whatever we can and make sure those partnerships actually work. Because I know we've heard horror stories of companies giving away equity, doing different things, and then really not getting any value out of it too. So we want to make sure we have that level of comfort within the startup community as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point, John. We've heard so many horror stories. We've seen people give 5, 10% equity to influencers, and then those influencers do kind of nothing to justify that 5 or 10% that they've got. We've seen people do, oh my gosh, they've taken influencers who have subsequently gone rotten. Even like the Will Smith thing, which I never really felt that he was a terrible person for doing that, but he got destroyed as soon as he went up and slapped that guy when his wife was abused, or was at least was joked about, and so that really hurt a brand that we had Will Smith with for like a year and a half, and afterwards it was very very difficult for them to recover. We've seen the same thing with Dog Whisperer, where just there's a lot of people who just didn't like the Dog Whisperer. So you have to be very careful with the influence that you bring on board with you. But I would still say, even Conor McGregor is another great example, right? Where Conor McGregor was great at the beginning, but as soon as he had that altercation back in Ireland, everybody banned and barred and got rid of his whiskey. Now he'd already sold it, so he didn't care. But the people who bought it, the proper 12, those guys got absolutely bamboozled. So you got to be careful. It works on both sides, but the general premise here is you got to make sure you build quickly. You have to get people on your side. It's like two opposing armies against each other. If you can bring in a couple of generals from different countries, it's going to help you. These people are generals that will help. If there is nobody of influence at all involved with you, then it's very, very difficult to do anything for us. John, do you want to speak to the next question from Rohit, which is regarding operational support, go-to-market, hiring, tech advisory? How do
Yeah.
we support on those levels?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing is like it's still the expert dojo celebrity fund, and that's the big thing too, is like why we want to make sure that partnership is still there. So we still have access to the entire network of expert dojo here. We're still doing everything through the accelerator program. So we are a full accelerator program. We're entirely focused on go to market. So Brian can obviously touch on just like what that actually entails. But when we invest in a company, our whole thesis is really around driving the growth. So we want to be actively involved in your go to market, see how do we help you optimize that scalability, drive the revenue forward, and really push things as quickly as possible, whether that be through direct introductions, whether that be through the investment side of things, whether that be through just really refining the brand. So it all goes together on there. But yeah, absolutely helping on that side. We have an investor relations team, so we're making direct introductions. On the hiring side, we post things on our newsletters. We have obviously a pretty massive network here too. I would say that depends what the roles. Some roles are easier to fill than others. If you're looking for a CTO, you're gonna have a harder time than if you're looking for a marketing analyst. So it just depends. But yeah, obviously we're there with the company. We're helping any way we can. So whenever somebody needs our assistance, we're there through the program, as well as doing everything we can outside of that as well. I'm sure Brian can talk to you about the 10 companies he's probably spoken to this morning that had some emergency that we needed to help with. So yeah, we're there for our companies the entire way. We try to be as involved as possible. So that's really the main value add of Expert Dojo, is that we're going to actively be working with you the entire time. It's not a passive investment. We make our investment and then we continue to push things forward from there. So all about the growth, all about adding value beyond that initial investment. So yeah.
I had a chat on Friday, John. I said to me, "You guys are not even a venture capital firm. You're really more like a private equity firm playing in the venture capital space." Because most venture capitalists, I mean, the best will in the world, they make an investment in a company, they give a little bit of advisory every now and again, and then the rest is down to the company. There's no one who works with the company over a 4 year period, providing them growth, help, advice, and structure for that entire. There's like nobody who does that. And our belief is we bring a company in, we do an audit against the company. The audit will give us a score. That score will allow us to tell where the company ranks from an investability perspective. So we can tell our investors what their number ranking is, which is good and terrifying for the companies at the same time. We then look at the areas where they need help, and then we have growth hackers and we have programs that will work with the companies within those areas. And then the idea is that the company is able to break through. That's what we really want to happen over a period of time. And then by building these additional bridges that we're talking about here, it gives companies the opportunity to be able to break into different countries and really be able to build their model out. Okay, so I want to take, I have one last question here. And then, really, John, speaking to people who are thinking of applying for the celebrity fund, what type
Mhm.
of companies do you like? What does your diligence look like? Maybe talk them through, give them a really good feel as to what an amazing opportunity is, and maybe another opportunity which isn't that amazing. But before we do that, potential risks of over reliance on a celebrity image. I think we mentioned it before you, just
Yeah.
as you were putting it up. Actually, Conor McGregor was a great idea before, maybe not such a great idea, in the medium term afterwards. But then it may become a great idea in the future again. You never know. He's running for president in Ireland. If he becomes president in Ireland, then he could be awesome again. But there's risks, like it's like a roller coaster, right? You don't know what's going to happen. Is somebody going to maybe take some drugs they shouldn't be taking, and then suddenly that gets exposed, and suddenly that gets aligned with your brand? Just be very aware. I don't even want to say be careful. Be aware. Like if you have a brand where you think it's worth the risk to try and get the brand to go like this, that's a conscious decision. Neither the
Yep.
right decision nor the wrong decision. But what you don't want to do is just get a celebrity for the sake of getting a celebrity, then be really happy, then hand out a bunch of equity, then have them do absolutely nothing. So yeah, it's down to you really and what you offer. A lot of the time, by the way, if you have a great product, a lot of the time these celebrities will invest in the product, and having them invest is amazing. Like that's actually what you want to happen.
Yeah, we see a lot in food and beverage too, with a lot of them who bring in good people too. So we just saw that with Poppy, they had a lot of athletes that were behind them too. You had the ones like Vitamin Water back in the day where they had some big name players too. So yeah, I mean, but they never relied on one person. I think is the big thing too. You spoke to like the proper 12 thing earlier, like where it was really good in the beginning when Conor McGregor was doing well, but his brand is not as strong as it used to be, obviously with all the controversies and things. So Yeah, that's. I mean, I think so. There's something to be said about relying on one person to drive that image forward, versus bringing in a lot of different people. I think you lose a little bit of the effect when you have multiple people involved, but you also are not relying on one person and them to be the face of your brand. And if things go sour with that one person, it can be bad too. So it's your higher risk, high reward with both of those things as well. But when you partner with somebody like that, at the end of the day, you are relying on that individual and how well you know that individual. How do things change over the next couple of years? How many companies are they working with? All things you need to consider. When we're working with companies, I mean, we most of the time what we're happening is we're bringing in a few people to work with them. When you partner with the one person who's the face of it, it needs to be somebody fairly big typically, because you don't want to have like a smaller level person, and then it's not gonna reach the network you have if you go all in with that. So probably you have to really make sure you have that good partnership too, and it's hard to get that person to actually say that you're the company they're supporting as well. So it's a good partnership on both sides, but yeah, you're relying on one person and what they do from now on. So yeah, definitely some big risks there as well. But it's really, I don't know if there's a way to really mitigate a lot of those risks beyond hoping that they don't, just knowing who they are and hoping they don't do anything wrong. But truthfully, you never really know what's happening behind the scenes there too.
Yeah. And by the way, every single time when people secure really good, strong influencers and celebrity, it is always because of perseverance and a little bit of smarts as well. How you outreach to them, what you ask for. I had a person yesterday that I was speaking with who told me about how she continually sent a picture of the product every single day for 20 days until the person said, okay, cool, I'll meet, no problem. Like, because somebody else could get upset. But what do you prefer? You prefer someone to get upset, or you prefer not to have tried? I'll go for upset, because everybody's not going to get upset. And if you don't try, then you're not going to get anything in the first place. So I think that it's about perseverance, it's about outreach, it's about engagement, it's about giving them reasons why they should want to know about your product. And then it's about sucking them in and making sure that like they see all of the benefits of what you're building. So when the negotiation starts, they don't immediately come in and say, oh, give me 10 or 15%. My agent will negotiate it, because they don't care. You want them to really care so they come through. So outreach like crazy. Don't just think most famous person in the world, or Leonardo DiCaprio. Think about the people who are the most likely for you and the ones that will benefit your company growth the most. Stroke will be in a position to be a really great ambassador, and people would really like you for them. Like back in the day, if David Beckham was an ambassador for something we were building, in many cases, as long as it's CPG, it wouldn't matter what it was. And you don't even need David Beckham to do much. You just need his name, because his name was so strong back in the day. Same would be for a Tom Brady or a Wayne Gretzky or one of those chaps. For other people, you may need them to do more, but everything is commensurate with the amount of rewards that are being received on either side. Okay,
Yeah,
now
and
into the
one thing you
flow.
can touch on that too, Brian, too, is like we have a thing with a lot of the athletes we work with now too. It's almost every athlete we speak to talks about how they wish they had been more involved in this community while they were playing, because you have millions of
Yeah.
people watching you once a week, and you have that audience built in where no other group has that. Like they have that, those athletes have that too. So using the network when they're playing too is a huge thing too. So we talk to obviously a lot of current players and then a lot of former players who are doing things. So um, we have a few partnerships in place right now where we're obviously working with current players, seeing how they can get involved, seeing what they can do within this community while making sure that they understand the risks, the pros and the cons of this space as well. Because I never want to tell people like startup is a high risk investment for a reason. If they
Mhm.
invest in two companies and they expect that both of them are going to be unicorns, they're most likely going to be very wrong in that. So it is a numbers game. There's a level of like, companies making it through. What does success look like for you? What does that timeline look like? If they expect that they're going to exit a company in 2 years and make all the money, they're probably going to be sorely mistaken. Even if that company is doing very well, it's still going to be 7 to 10 years now. I mean, obviously, the timelines have even moved forward further for successes now. So, it's a lot of what we do is just education on that side of things too. So we work with a lot of players things and just make sure we're involved with people there too. Because I think a lot of them just want to be exposed to things, but also have that layer of comfort of knowing what's happening and making sure they understand everything beyond that as well.
I like it. Okay, first check size, and then also got back with, is the fund global or focused on specific regions? So check
Yep.
size, and where are you looking for your deal flow?
Check size. So goes up to 100K for the first check. So small checks to start with. We do much larger checks later on. So those typically start at $1 million, but those are follow-on checks. So we go through the program first, then we evaluate the company we're working with you and investing much more later on. And then you can obviously see more of that on our website, and I can always break it down for you more in detail. And then as far as the regions, it's global. So we have our team in India that's going to be handling primarily our Indian investments, just with a lot of local regulations over there too. It's easier for us to have somebody on the ground over there. But I mean, I've invested in 40 companies or so in India already, so we're definitely familiar with the market. I personally love investing over there too. So if we find a company that's bridging the gap between both, if it's a U.S. company that's set up over there, there's obviously some things we do there as well. But we have our firm in India too. Ash is working on that. But we're global. We've done things in every continent. This month alone, we've done 2 U.S. companies. We've done 2 companies in South America. We have one over in Africa. We have one that's based over in Germany right now. So it's everywhere. We don't mind where a company is. If we can legally invest, then we're willing to do the work there too. There's some countries that are more difficult to invest into than others, but typically, if a company's based somewhere, it's not an issue for us to. Almost all the companies we invest in places like Africa and most of South America are usually registered in the US, the UK, or Singapore. Those tend to be the 3 easiest places for us to invest, but it doesn't matter where the founders are based, doesn't matter where they're at.
Amazing. And then talk a little bit about what makes a great startup for you, John. When you see an application that comes in, you get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications. When they come in, what is it you look at that you think, "Oh, I love that"?
I mean, I think it's just really what the founder's mentality is for a lot of it in the beginning. I mean, finding a way to just hustle your way to sales, validate the market in some capacity. Everyone's struggling with capital on a day-to-day in the beginning stages. It's just the reality of the situation, and showing like, hey, we know what's going to work. We know how to actually grow the company, and we've proven it. We've shown that we can do something. Now imagine what would happen if we had another $1 million on top of this. It's hard to validate when you have a company that's like, hey, we need the $1 million just to even start to validate things too. And again, this is from a level of like, I understand that there are realities behind, like, you need money to get things started here too. We want to see some progress in how you push things forward. Like, how do you actually go from 0 to 1? What have you done beyond build the pitch deck? What are you really doing just to push this forward too? So I always use like an example of when we invested in Matt from North. Like, he was still super early on in the product. The product wasn't fully deployed yet. He had LOIs. He had everything in place, and he was ready to scale once the product launched. The product launched and took off, and now he's doing great. So, there's ways you can validate things without having a fully fledged product, without really being out in the market yet too. So it's just really showing, are you going to do things? Are you going to be able to hustle? There's a big difference between like, hey, we sent out 20 emails today and we picked up the phone 20 times and called people. We're in front of customers every day, and they know us, that we're engaged with them too. So yeah, build engagement with your customers, show that there's a need for your product, and validate it. There's ways to prove that validation, and having people say that they like it one time through an email is not the same as having somebody committed to working with you too. So anything you can do to layer that on top is going to make all the not even with us, just with everybody. You can find ways to do things, and there's always the next level you can push. So do what you need to do, hustle, be out there, sell your product, sell everything you can on there too. So sell, and just continue to evolve the product and evolve your team.
Nice. And a company growing at 200% growth is, of course, like the nirvana. That's the beautiful thing that we all looking for. 200% growth every single year, and a market size that's big enough for that to continue to get to like 2, 3, 5, 8, $10 million a month in revenue. You do that, it is game over. You have won. And so
depends what that 200% looks like, but yeah, I mean, 200% can, if you go from 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000, it's going to be a stretch. We want to see 5 to 10 to 20 what are you doing on that? So how fast are you doing things? Speed is not your friend with startup. The longer it takes you to grow, the worse off you are. So you can have a company that can't raise Series A rounds because you didn't grow quickly enough at the seed rounds, and then you're either looking for private equity things, you're looking for different routes of investment because VCs won't touch it because they don't believe you can grow fast enough now. So if you want to do this, time is not your friend. If you see a company if we see a company past 2022 now, it's usually a concern, and that's just what every VC will be thinking primarily. They'll be worried about, why didn't you grow yet? What changes now? Like what have you done now that proves you can change? There's some exceptions to that. If you have things like healthcare and things like that, which obviously it's just a longer timeline, that can be different. But the time is not your friend in any of this.
No, and you just have to show that you've got some epic insight that's going to be different this time around. Like Airbnb took 6 years to get into Y Combinator, just to get into Y Combinator. But then once they got in, they flew, right? And why did they fly? Because they were ready. The product was ready. The consumers are ready. Everything they've done before that was ready. And so that whole, what percentage are you growing at last year? What percentage are you growing at year to date? What are your projections for where you're going to grow this year? Who's your team? What have your team done before? Show demonstration of execution. Like that
Yep.
stuff, that's what makes great companies. And I want to do just in the last couple of minutes, John, I want to bring up. I actually really like this question about the whole how involved are celebrities in due diligence and decision making process. I think they're going to be very involved, right?
Yeah, it depends what the company is. If they so I usually use our LPs a lot for the diligence process, just because they've worked more on that side of things too. If they know the space, we want to make sure everybody actually knows the industry when they're getting involved with it too. But there's two levels of that too. As far as how they get involved with the expert dojo involvement, it depends. So I'll usually pull the people in and I'll consult like our network there too. So we'll do those on those calls where we have like 15, 20 people there. They can ask questions. We can dig into things from there. But I wouldn't say they're handling due diligence. They're more giving us their opinion on the market, on the company itself. If they are actively working with the company after we've invested, then they will be very involved because they're actively doing their own diligence too. And we will be doing another layer of diligence on top of what we've already done if we invested in the company. So there's two levels of that. In the beginning, it's just high level diligence, just getting involved, giving us an opinion, but much more later on.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Divyansh. I love stablecoin. Anything, any kind of technology that's around stablecoin right now is super hot. And that's to John's point. You have the growth period, and then we also have the size of market, and then you have the execution, which is that piece in the middle. And I know you're executing really strongly. I like this question here about where should one focus, scalability or profitability. It's easy as a VC for me to say scalability is really important, because if you're not growing at 200% growth, nobody's going to be interested in you. But I do think it's a little bit like a Formula One race. You got to take pit stops. And there are time periods when things are not normal, right? And so we're in a place right now where things are not normal. Like you can't guarantee being able to raise money, whereby previously you could have guaranteed, for it would have been very easy to raise money. And so I don't want to say take a pit stop, but I am going to say don't hate yourself if you just hedge a little bit in a market like this, so that you're not waiting for the next month and just praying to God that you can raise money, that you take a bit of control into your hands. Now, by the opposite token, you don't want to go too far into profitability where you start building a service company, because that's not going to help you either. So I call it cash flow optionality. I really like it. It means that, let's say you've got 3 months runway left and you get to like month 2.5. You have the ability to be able to cut out costs, move yourself into a cash flow optional situation until things change. And then you go back again, right? Cash flow optionality. I love that. John, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends what kind of company you want to build here too. Not every company wants to go the VC route. So if you're not trying to go that route, I mean, you can focus on the profitability side. Scalability is going to be the big thing for VC companies. Again, time is not your friend. That speaks completely to scalability. You need to acquire users. You need to grow revenues. You need to grow everything, and do it as quickly as possible and show the how big this company can be. You can have profitability in there too, but usually when companies are growing fast, your profitability numbers are going to be very small, if anything. So yeah, speed and profits don't tend to go together very well in VC models, which I think we can debate if that's right or wrong. But it's just the VC model a lot of times too, is that you're not going to see both go together. So yeah, as far as knowing your focus, knowing what kind of business you want to be, because I think a lot of people think they're VC companies that aren't VC companies. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And I would say that in economics, you'd probably look at that number better and say, hey, you're actually making money. Everyone's doing well. You have a company that can sell for 50 million. Like, I mean, I'd be happy with that if that was my personal company and I owned 80%, 90% of that company. I think we'd all be pretty happy with that. But that's not the venture model. That's not what a venture company wants to be. That's not what a VC wants to be. So know what kind of company you are, and align with investors who can be happy with that as well. Because you can find some VCs, some micro VCs who might be happy with that, but you're not going to talk to Sequoia about that because they're not going to be interested. So just know what kind of company you're going to be more than anything, and have awareness of that, because you'll save a lot of time for yourself and a lot of headache pitching people who are not going to be a fit for you.
Right. Listen, I love all of the questions we always get. It's not lost to me that there is a huge percentage of Indian or of origin Indian entrepreneurs who are on these live streams. We're back here every single week. The Celebrity Fund is one of the most exciting things that's going to happen this year. John's opened applications, so anyone can apply on the Expert Dojo website. Feel free to do so. This is where it begins. Thank you, John. We're going to make this a monster success. And for all the entrepreneurs out there, we're going to be bringing some unicorns out of this. So make sure you're a part of it.
Yeah, if anyone wants to apply, it's on the Expert Dojo site. You can email me directly, john@expertdojo.com. And yeah, we're always going through applications. So don't be afraid to reach out and give us